So this is pretty much my favorite thing to do when I get off work Sunday morning is make a rambling video about all the shit that I have thought about all night long on graveyard shift. So last night we had these uh dude, it's so surreal when this stuff happens. Some of those guys will come in and I'll be like so zonked out on my fifth shift of the week. Graveyard shift. I have two graveyard shifts at the end of the week and I don't always sleep that well. So homeless guys come in and they'll they'll pull me right into what they're talking about, but they're like talking in circles, right? Because they're just like crazy. But I'm like on this weird sleep deprivation cycle, and so I'll be like trying to get them to get their stuff, and I'll give them something and buy something for them. But okay, I'll give them something small. If they don't have some money, I'll go oh here's a little dollar or whatever. Maybe I shouldn't do that because they come back, but they don't always come back. They come back every 3 or 4 weeks. They're on these big long cycles. But one of them, I tell them oh you can go sit over there on the side of the building, right? And it was really cold. Our security guard kept coming in. He's like, oh man, it's really cold out and humid. This is when people die, right? I was like, oh shit, I told you guys to stay outside. I'm in this weird zone where I'm like, oh man, maybe I should let them sit in the hallway all night and stay warm. But it's not a homeless shelter. It's my job to make sure our customers who buy food and gas aren't bothered by these homeless guys. But I just feel bad because I'm inside this warm building. Like my problem last night was that my jacket was too hot. I got there and we don't have the heater on here at the house. We've never had a heater my entire life, for the most part. Well, at least since I was 15, never had a heater. But that's just because that's how we deal with our house. We just bundle up. But I had this big old warm jacket on. I'm like, oh yeah, this will be the thing I'll wear in my fifth shift. Saturday night, no one's gonna make a big deal about me not putting my collared shirt on. So I have my t-shirt on. I'm like, oh crap, it's too hot. So I had to keep taking it on and off, and then I get cold. Then I get too hot. I'd be sort of sweating under it. Just at this perfect ambiguous temperature, and then these guys come in and they're trying to talk and keep going. They're just trying to stall and stay in the gas station. I feel like I'm sending them outside to their death. But someone comes in, they just look at me all weird. They're like, what are you guys doing? You guys doing drugs together? Just I don't even know. I just imagine the things that our customers think. Well, so I tell the guy to go outside and sit by the picnic tables, and then he keeps running in like a velociraptor at a 45-degree pursuit angle, like he's a defensive back. When somebody drives up to the gas pump, he's like, hey, can I have $1? Can I have a... hey, you can't go over there. You can't bug our customers. I'm going to get in trouble. He finally left. But then another guy showed up, and it was like deja vu. They were both talking in the same circles. They're doing the same thing, talking about how they missed their bus. And then I remember this conversation I had 2 months ago with one of my coworkers. He's like, yeah, that's what they do. They say they miss their bus and they can't, they try to make you feel bad about trying to give them some food or let them stay or let them beg from people. But you can't get them in a pattern of coming back. I can give them a tiny bit of something. So I don't know. I just feel bad about that crap, but it is part of universe, I guess. But yeah, that was it. It's my fifth shift of the week, so I'm back to my online stuff. I got a couple of things together this last couple of weeks. I got conditional webhooks, which is awesome because if you have a Zapier account, you can have Zapier make a webhook, and it gives you a little URL to Zapier, and you put it into the webhook section on DocuPletion Forms. So you make a contact form that has a couple different, conditional options, click boxes and stuff. You don't actually have to put conditional logic to what questions are asked, but you can have conditional results. So let's say someone clicks one checkbox, we can have the webhook that fires to Zapier that then has Zapier send a Gmail to someone from your Gmail account. You can do that, or it can say, you can ask them, hey, would you like just a one-time email of some information? We'll send it to you from our corporate Gmail account or our corporate account, or like mine's G Suite, right? So you do the Zap integration to Gmail, but it's a G Suite, so it says james@doccompletionforms.com, right? Or do you want to be on our newsletter? And that's a different thing. Like I use ActiveCampaign, so you can zap over to ActiveCampaign, but you don't need a webhook for that. You can do so let's say the webhook only fires to the one-time email if someone clicks one box, or if there's one way you can have it so someone can only click one of a set of boxes, or they can click as many as apply, right? So they could say you could give them a one-time email and also sign up for our newsletter, and that's through ActiveCampaign. And it still shows up as james@doccompletionforms.com, right? But it sends through this other, I think it's a Power MTA server. You can set up different servers or different SMTPs with ActiveCampaign. We're going to be doing that too. We're setting up an email series program, and then it's going to be part of our $5 subscription, because you will have to pay $12 or $10 to another SMTP. And we use Sendinblue. It's really good. SendGrid is another good one. That's the one I first used when I was getting into ClickFunnels a few years ago. At first it's a little it's a little daunting. You have to put these different little codes in places. But what an SMTP is basically the server that sends the email, but you have different programs that connect to it. So there'll be the program that when someone opts in, it tells the SMTP to send these emails, and you can make them either in the SMTP or in your email program. So our email program, you're going to make it in the email program, just like ActiveCampaign. Now, most ActiveCampaign users just use ActiveCampaign server, and they don't mess around with a different SMTP. We're making our email server, our email program, $5 because you're going to use your own SMTP. So the cool thing about that is that if you need an SMTP for some other program, you'll have one, and it's only $5 for our email program. We're adding a few other things. It's going to be Office 365 with Word, Excel, I think whatever else is in Microsoft Office 365, but it's through a reseller that we're doing, so it's on another server. But you're going to log into our website to doccompletionforms.com, and then if you've upgraded for $20, you'll be able to access your Office 365. We're doing this slick little single sign-on thing, so you only have to log into our website, and then you just one button click. That's going to take a few months to do the one button click sign-on. Before then, there's going to be a couple of an intermediary sign-on. That's going to be the next couple months, but and then if you upgrade from there, and we're also going to have a CRM as part of, I think, either the $5 or the $20. I think maybe the $5 subscription will have that, and then we're going to have, as part of the $20 subscription, our automatic document selection, document completion utility that we're still in the middle of creating. So creating a little bit of a value ladder, a little bit of a stack of program types that you can use, trying to make it as inexpensive as possible for as much value as possible at $5. And $20 is going to be a really good deal too, because of Office 365. Our $35 subscription is still WordPress 50 gigabytes with a site lock installed on your WordPress. You don't actually see the SiteLock database or dashboard. That's installed on ours. And then there's a higher level of SiteLock for $47. So, if you're not into WordPress, you're not going to need that. We just put that in at the top end in the beginning because I really like WordPress and I really like SiteLock. I use WordPress for my websites, and I use SiteLock on Doc Completion Forms to keep everybody's database secure and to keep our code repository secure, you know, our server where we have our code. You know, they do a really good job. So it's something you can put a little badge on that shows on your website, hey, yeah, we're secured by SiteLock, and it shows, you know, pass secure. Every, you know, people just see that. So with our reseller thing that we're doing right now, we don't have the full reseller account, which only translates over to us making a little bit more profit. But we just set up your SiteLock, and then we have to pay your SiteLock bill every month individually, and they give us, you know, 2 different pricing options. But when we get up to the next level of being a full reseller, they just cut me a deal because I'm really into SiteLock and I'm always bugging these people. It's like all I do sometimes is bug people about stuff, and I get them to cut me some deal. So this next year, you're going to see those deals in motion, all synchronized together. But yeah, we're going to be paying one bill, and then we get to resell as much SiteLock as we want. So we're going to try to, you know, convince you to take a look at WordPress very seriously. We're going to give you probably a license to Divi. We're going to get a license, and then what we're going to do is make these little 2-3 page microsites so that we uphold the license for the Divi theme. Divi is excellent, and they also have their own contact form that has conditional logic, but it's not the same focus as ours in connecting to all these other different programs and doing automatic document selection and completion. So it's going to be chock full of benefits. And then one of the things we're going to be doing is an add-on for HIPAA compliant email. So we're going to have an email server that is a third-party server that we have a reseller for. And then also each of the Office 365s that cost $20, you can set one up for another person in your little Office group. So let's say you have 10 people who all want Office 365 and HIPAA compliant emails. All you have to do is add another $20 for the Office 365. I mean, we're gonna roll it in. We're gonna give you a good deal. Maybe it's not gonna be another $20. It's gonna be somewhere between 10 and 20. And the HIPAA compliant is going to be a few different options. So one is the Rackspace email, and I think that's probably going to run the least amount of money, like $7-8, something like that. So what we're trying to do is get the average subscription price up to $100, and it's not all just our software. It's our software and other people's software, but it's going to be in a smooth little synchronized single sign-on. So when I'm done with this next year, that should all be together. You know, it might take me 2 years. Worst come to worst, it'll take me 2 years. So I'm hoping within the year. But it's just a little like micro scale at a time. I'm scaling at the bottom end to keep it efficient and logically connected and synchronized, and then we're going to scale up with a money round probably in a year or 2 years. So doing the thing a way that people say to do sometimes, or sometimes not to do. Sometimes, you know, people say don't do a lot of work before you do the money round. What I say about this contact form stuff and the document selection and completion and HIPAA compliant email, Office 365, WordPress, and SiteLock is that it's like another coin-operated laundry down the street. How many coin-operated laundries have you seen in your whole life? A lot. Well, they all make money. That's the whole thing about it, is that people need email. People need contact forms. People need their website. People like WordPress. People need internet security. People need word processing programs. You know, each one of us has seen at least one of these things. Everybody's used a word processor. Everybody's seen a freaking website. Everybody's thought about internet security. So, conditional logic is just what I got into after I got out of the University of San Diego's paralegal program. I had always wondered about it my whole life. Like, how the hell do how do you set these up? These little things where it clicks and it's like different little check boxes and things open up and compress, and it's like different questions. I always kind of thought about these things, but I got into reading these law review journals written by law professors and lawyers and, you know, different PhDs, different non-lawyers, non-PhDs, just people in the industry. There have been different law cases, different software programmers and program businesses have gotten into different legal situations. And, I just got into reading about it because I became a bonded and registered legal document assistant. And that's one of the people where it says, I am not an attorney. I cannot give legal advice, nor can I represent you. I can only provide self-help services at my client, freaking saying it wrong. There's an actual statutory disclosure at the client's specific direction. So what that means is that you have to give someone information and say, hey, here's the main options. These options usually are entered into because of this, and this reason, and they have this, and this result. These options are usually taken because of this, and this set of reasons, and they usually have this result. It's advisable to retain the services of an attorney to enter into an attorney-client relationship, but you have the right to just, read this information and make a choice and ask us to complete documents for you. Well, the other thing people have the right to do is to seek out software utilities that work automatically and are an encoding of information into a dynamic automatic system. So what we try to recommend that people do is ask a question and you give a couple different answer options and then the significance of the answer options, and then that answer, depending on which answer is picked, it causes the program to ask a different next question. So you can imagine your logic tree when you're asking someone questions about their situation and what they like. Let's say you know everything about one area of, well, like divorce, family law, separation. You know what questions you'd ask them. Well, you make it in natural language so that the program asks those questions, and then they have different answer options because you know what someone's basic options are going to be. So you give them some options or give them an other. Other is one of those things maybe you want to use as little as possible unless other gives you some intelligible bit of information, and then you ask them to fill it in. But probably try to pre-think out every type of option that someone has. That's when you really know that. This type of stuff helps you learn a topic of law too. A2J author and A2J interview from Chicago Kent, Law and Technology. Their Law and Technology department. That's what they made, and I've been going at this all by myself because I don't know. I don't really need the input from anybody when I have all these insanely good sources to read. How to market my stuff, that's something I'm working on, but I'm still just working on, the technical synchronization of everything, and it's coming along really nicely. So conditional webhooks was a really nice addition. Our Zapier integration a few months ago was the other thing we did right before this. We're going to be doing conditional emails though too, to where there'll be a different confirmation email that's sent out to someone when they fill out your form. They get an email from the program. So depending on what they select, they'll get a different email, which is inside the program. So the webhooks is like to Zapier and then to whatever email program. We have a direct integration to ActiveCampaign, and then inside the program itself sends an email. So just kind of basically I'm putting a conditional logic element to every part of our program that we now have already up online. So that's something I can do. If you do run into something in our free contact form that you want to be able to have occur only when someone meets certain conditions, we can work on that. We can only work on like one every month or two. It takes a little time. I have a team of people who I have the lead person I talk with. She talks with her team and then gets back to me, and I have to come up with the money. So it's just going a couple months at a time, but we're getting there. It's been, just a process since I first started reading about it all. And then became an LDA, wanted to use this type of utility, and then couldn't find anything quite. But then I could find some things, but I didn't like how the programs work. And I really like how our super simple contact form works. Some contact form programs are just way less intuitive on how they work. And ours is really super simple, drag and drop, or double click rather than drag and drop the little element of a type of a question into the form. Then you set your conditions afterwards. So you have to remember the questions you ask. Some of these, I mean, there's a lot of different potential things you can do. Some people keep it real simple. Just ask a few pertinent things for the first intake. Then you have a secondary contact form. I mean, you do this stuff for a while and do your integrations with Zapier. Try to save yourself a whole bunch of time and headache. At first, when you're first getting used to it, you might cause yourself a headache, though, because you get lost on what you did. But just keep a little journal of notes of, like, what your add-ons are that you use, what your integrations are that you use, what your webhooks, what your direct zaps were, what programs you connect to, and the way your conditional logic works. And then, most people, if they have one niche focus, really only need one or two or three contact forms. So in the end, you're going to end up really focusing down. Like, you might have some practice ones. Like, at first, I was just making little joke contact forms, like fart jokes, conditional fart jokes, like different types of really stupid fart jokes. But probably the smartest person I've ever known, and I came up with the idea of, like, hey, let's make some fart jokes that come out different ways. Like, there's different types of farts. It's really stupid. I have a buddy who's a particle astrophysics, double major, double master's, double PhD. And this is the thing we brainstorm, like, oh, let's make fart jokes. But there's a lot of other uses other than just fart jokes in just the law industry. I mean, there's real estate, there's mortgages, there's taxes, you can use it in a religious setting. I mean, any business, any type of activity you're involved in, people have different categories their need falls into, and then you can give them options in a simple contact form. So just gathering a little bit of information sometimes impresses people that you've pre-thought about the situation they're in when they're seeking you out. So, yeah, that's it. It's getting to be 25 minutes, so I got to cut the video off. I know you guys are hanging on to the edge of your seats, by the seat of your pants, but that's it for this week.